Today we'll be going over how to optimize your fat. I'm going to do a bullet gun approach today, and you'll at least be 10% more optimized when it comes to using your fat. Fat loss is a byproduct of health. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss anything instinctual. Also, make sure to like this video and share it. Tune in to your health instincts. Also, follow us on Instagram, plus Facebook, where you'll get instinctual. You want to have high levels of chlorophyll in your blood, so your triglycerides are low, meaning you can use your ketones better. ATP is increased when you have chlorophyll running through your blood. You can optimally be in ketosis better when you have a lot of it. Eat your plants to get this chlorophyll, especially green leafy vegetables. Eating less bad stuff less often, intermittent fasting, and you live longer. When you eat less often and really eat your fat, you are in autophagy, which means your body is cannibalizing the proteins, pathogens, debris in the body. Stuff that's been sitting in your waistline, heavy metals, for years, and the fat that is around your organs. Optimize fat by optimizing instincts, by emulating our ancestors. Our ancestors had a variety late in life. Their exercise, food, prayers changed, so diet variation is a must for optimizing efficiency. You, when you're doing keto, need to really be strict in actual ketosis. If you aren't in keto and are IFing, intermittent fasting, you still could be using carbs as a main source of energy, so don't do too much weight / high intensity interval training. Make sure you're fat adapted, you won't have to worry about this. Or else, you'll lose cortisol, which increases your insulin, making you break down muscle protein to fuel your exercise. Optimize fat as a fuel by doing diet variation, like switching it up from 18-hour fast to 6-hour eating window, 24/1 fast, 48/2 fast to 3-day fast. Also, vary portion, frequency, and volume. Optimize ketosis by giving your body what it needs to continue to make efficient ketones and keep up your basal metabolic rate. For girls and for guys it's different, but you should at least have this, because you can't manage what you can't measure. So how do you optimize fat? Will BMR help? Well, while actually tapping into your fat stores after 2 to 3 days of burning off stored glycogen, or if your BMR is high, then you probably have to take longer to burn off all your stored glycogen. And once you do this, your body starts the life-prolonging autophagy process, using fat for fuel. As you continue to feel great using an abundance of calories, all you can eat pretty much, you can take bone broth or bulletproof coffee, which will help you go 6 hours more in a fast. Keep cortisol low so you'll actually be fat adapted by keeping HIIT, high intensity interval training / weight short. We still don't understand fully the body's metabolism and mTOR. When you eat, blood flows to your stomach and not the brain. You get in a parasympathetic state when you eat. When you fast, you're in a sympathetic state and you stay focused. And when you need your brain the most, this is what fasting does for you. When things are in abundance, they lose value. When you're hungry for something, you better do the something. If you don't have time, you don't have priorities. When you're hungry, it means you have a lot of energy and you'll do what it takes to get food. If you want to play the piano, you can't just give up after 3 times of not getting there. All chronic conditions is caused from a lack of stem cells. Make life in the beginning and recreate it is what stem cells do. They help recycle autophagy, the bad stuff in your body, renewal. It's estimated that 95% of the population is in some state of autoimmune disorder. You need this. You don't want the senescent cell in your body. You have bad white cells, blood cells, living for too long. The more of these, the more hyperactive you are. Your immunity is. Your cells are in a frenzy, overreacting. When you induce autophagy, your body gets rid of those cells. You start to feel much better. Your autoimmune starts down-regulating. Eating. It's aging. Older you get, the worse your immunity is, and the cells you never clean up can go rogue and cause cancer, while fasting, repairing age. Your DNA gets repaired from the cumulative damage when fasting. The better your immunity gets. Do you feel like listening to this? What's your why? How and when are you going to use them? Optimize ketones by feasting and fasting. It creates adaptation, mitochondria fitness, powerhouse of the cell. Some people do good with having a few days of autophagy and then 2 days of feasting.
If you, instead of saying what's the most I could eat and not gain weight, and reversed it and said, what's the least amount of food I can eat? Maintain muscle mass, have all the energy I require, never get sick, and most importantly, not be hungry, because hunger ruins the whole thing, right? But if you look at it from that point of view and you say, well, what's the least I can eat? And it's
Americans have lost that ability. And I want to be clear on how damaging that is, meaning that they're only able to burn sugar. So when they're not eating, they're either burning muscle into sugar, breaking muscle down, gluconeogenesis, or they are run down, wiped out, craving carbohydrates, right? It's like, so, and their brain is going into an oxidative mode, because of all of and their cells are inflamed because all they're burning is glucose constantly, which definitely burns with more oxidation, a little more dirt, if you will, a little more,
Get results with fasting by having better fasts. Get beyond fasting. The thing that could be plateauing you, many might not like this, but it is coffee. It could be the culprit and not optimizing your fasts. Because of decaf, black, or dark roast, coffee is raising your glucose. You're missing the whole point of autophagy, which must be in a low glucose state for optimal autophagy. Sugar and carbs the limit because glucose needs to be lowered. If you think about it, we didn't just eat bread, pasta, cereal, etc. If you're actually emulating our true ancestors, our body needs to be running on fat right now. So you can optimize ketosis, then actually emulate them and start to become superhuman. Fasts are hard in the beginning, especially with all the extra time on your hands. You're left with, what's the purpose? I have so much time. Well, we all need to know spirituality or a higher purpose, or else what's the point in being here? Pray, stay focused on tasks, and bask in the presence or whatever purpose or higher ordained appointment something has set here for you. Optimize fat by understanding causation. Advice that you were given, not you. It's the advice, it's not you. That's why you may be suffering, because you're thinking that it's you, but it's really the advice you were given. Advice like low calories and move more. This is just stressing yourself and making you have a slower metabolism. Lower insulin and do HIIT instead of just move and eat less. If you constantly subject your body to any hormone, it will develop a resistance. Since eating spikes insulin, storing food, anabolic hormone, and not eating lowers insulin, this means you tap into your fat. Resistance is caused by too much of a hormone, and the more you trigger this hormone, the more resistant you become. Don't break your fast partial or prolong incorrectly. You either primarily in a catabolic or anabolic state. After a fast, eat low-calorie meals. Then only once a week do a feast to be in also an anabolic state. This feast is a biohack because you need higher glucose to keep your T3 and T4 hormones up. You need insulin to keep up fat-burning hormones. Deeper autophagy and healing of stem cells when you lower carbs and protein. Not for too long because you will adapt and plateau. This is why 98% of all diets fail. So in the beginning I said diet variation. This will help you optimize fat. The magic in optimization is change, not diet. Optimize. How? Environmental toxins. You have to know. Knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. That's what Dr. Seuss said. We know of these toxins, but we aren't aware of the things they're doing in our body. These toxins can cause you to plateau, and you might be doing everything right. It's just that you have hidden infections, heavy metal, or mold. These are neurotoxins. 85% of all diseases start in the mouth. It's estimated. So, your mercury teeth could be causing you harm. Cavitations, root canals. There was a study that came out from the CDC in February 2018 that says 7 out of 10 degenerative chronic conditions are from oral microorganisms. Almost all toxins lead through our breath. That's why it stinks and you start to get a white tongue because of the buildup when not brushing, and oil pulling. Chelate the toxins and oil pull. We're all different. To truly stick with the powerful tools today, you have to understand your body and have a deep understanding. If you believe and know and act, repeat. Habitual brain loves repetition. You'll optimize. How? Get a coach and get tested. Your root canal could be the hidden infection that's preventing you from losing fat. The root cause of illness you can grasp more, especially by watching. There's nothing to smile about, the root cause. It was on Netflix, but now you can get it on things like Amazon. Optimization, another way. If we force the body to adapt, it will get stronger, so having fasting and famine cycles is great. Forced adaptation happened because of environment with our ancestors, and we still, from a DNA, hormone, neurobiological level, are them. In order to change your hormones, optimize fat, you must emulate the ancestors and start cutting calories through intermittent fasting, or you could say just cutting insulin by intermittent fasting for 2 weeks and then having 2 weeks of just regular eating. Studies have shown that that is much better than just staying on the same thing. Because remember, you need variation and metabolic flexibility. So destroying yourself makes your body have an inflammatory effect and catabolic effect, which stunts adaptation. We want to keep you in homeostasis. So stimulate life, don't destroy it. Be pulled through life, don't always push. Stimulating versus destroying parts of the body sets a hormonal response which makes you have good resistance. You can't just shop for new genes. Your genes simply, when insulin is low, activate fat-burning hormones, and you can conclude the opposite. Insulin. Always eating spiked insulin means no fat burning. Do fat burning about the context of genetics, not a band-aid. Diets are just a band-aid and something long-term. After you're really fat adapted and you have great metabolic flexibility, you cannot worry as much about eating carbs once in a while. Your body will either use fat or glucose, carbs, and even if you eat 150 grams of carbs, studies show that this is still considered a low-carb diet. Eat 150 grams of carbs a day. You should feel like a superhuman, and if you had 5 carbs over, you should still feel amazing, running primarily on ketones. When you're eating carbs, your body still uses its primary source, ketones.
So anyway, I get so excited about this.
I just kind of, I want to be clear for our viewers and listeners, what you're saying, because I think it's so important, that it's incredibly healthy and beneficial to be able to switch to be a glucose burner and a fat burner. Here's the problem. Most Americans have lost that ability, and I want to be clear on how damaging that is.
We're always fat adapted. If you're not doing low carb, your metabolic machinery requires carbs, and you can't just switch right away, because from birth you were forced to not use this anti-aging tool. Your fat or source of energy.
On those cycles. So that's when people hear about what we're talking about here, keto, and they go, well, I could never not eat breakfast. I could never skip a meal. I could never go a day or two without eating. Yeah, and the answer is they can't without incredible amount of struggle and sacrifice and focus and concentration, because when you haven't done the work, when you haven't built the metabolic machinery, when you are carb dependent, then you either can't store any more glucose in the muscle cells, so it stores it as fat in the fat cells. The amount of insulin that you've just secreted in response to that overconsumption of carbohydrate has not only caused the body to try to dispose of those carbs, but also has locked the fat into the fat cells, and now you are unable to take that fat out of the fat cells and actually use it as energy, which was always the intention, that as part of the elegant system that is evolution.
Thrive with less calories and get maximum results in life. Our ancestors, when they didn't have the time to just go and complain and be angry, they were stoic society in the now, where all the power is, not a current day and age Epicurus whose chief goal is pleasure. They just lived their life and moved on. Don't pass time by being fat adapted, not, because you'll always be hungry and age yourself. Also, the more often you eat, the faster you'll age. But live time. Kids oxidize fat 30 to 40% better than adults for fuel. You can presume why. Overstimulation of machinery, which because is used so much, the body thinks, no need for other more efficient machinery. The more you eat as you get older and not use the right machinery. As we get older and better, more metabolically efficient, we actually need less protein, fats, carbs, and other macronutrients like water. I like using you for me. I love energy I get from you. So why can we run on fat? Well, our cells have memory, and if you do housekeeping, like earlier I was talking about autophagy, your senescent cells, you have bad white ones. The blood cells, when they're living for too long, can cause harm. But the more clean your body is through autophagy, it cleans up these cells, the more metabolically efficient you are, and you actually metabolize things differently because your source of energy is from fat. Which fat is clean fuel and food is dirty. And when you're using fat, you can absorb food better because you have less inflammation in the body. Fat burner equals clean environment to take in food. Carb burner equals dirty environment to take in food. So complex movements are amazing because they get lymph fluid throughout all of your muscles, which means you lose fat from all the areas of your body with complex movements instead of just doing the same movement over and over again, like a deadlift. Calisthenics is great. Go to restoreyourfitness.com for more.
You fit the definition of ketosis, excess ketones in the bloodstream. But the irony is the people that I know have been keto the longest, who've been 10, 15 years keto, they might get 20, 30 grams of carbs a day, and they might blow a 0.4 millimolar on a keto thing. Because here's what's going on. They've been keto for so long. The muscles are so fat adapted that number one, they don't need that much in the way of glucose. And number two, and more importantly, the muscles that are so fat adapted go, you know what? We don't even need ketones. Send the ketones off to the brain. We don't need them. We're so good at burning fat and a little bit of glycogen. We don't need ketones. Send them off to the brain.
Another way to optimize Know the indicators of when to stop fasting, like super fatigue, tongue turns from white to red, extreme hunger. Know your BMR for the day. Put your daily exercise, activities, how much you stand up, and food all together. Your height, your weight, and you'll figure that women usually have a basal metabolic rate of 1900 calories, while men have basal metabolic rate of 2500 calories. Regardless if you walked a ton of miles, our body likes to not use more than it needs, and if you walked 60 minutes, you'd still have about the same calories burned throughout the whole entire day. Our body doesn't use its energy unless it needs to. You can't overcome your biology. The Hadza tribe from the Scientific American magazine, they said that the Hadza tribe runs and walks miles and miles to catch prey. Yet, when compared to the average American who sits at a couch all day, the Hadza and an American burn the same calories. They also found a wild gorilla versus one in a zoo burn the same amount of calories. You can't overcome your biology. The tribe versus humans burn the same. Have proper ratios in your diet is another way to optimize. Improve ketosis. Have proper ratios in your diet for fluidity all over. Taking just fish oil or just a synthetic vitamin in the long term won't do good because you need a ratio. Another bullet gun shot quick approach. Optimize ketosis. Ask experts, is this going to benefit my biology? The different aspects of your life you need to all take into account. It's easy to know what you're deficient in. The receptors in your body are craving when you're aware of your diet. I'm going to live longer now that I'm tuned in to my instincts. Optimize fat by knowing the 5 W's and H to what food has in it. Food cravings that kids have gone beyond sugar and salt, but now chemicals, smell, whatever subconscious things manufacturers do. So optimize by knowing what food has, by being organic and bringing up the others around you. Slowly reduce bad foods so you don't get a relapse and replace the neurons in your brain that make you eat bad. Though, if you know about the trigger, the cue, and the reward, the self-talk, others, photo, visualization, you can use all these to help you overcome. More good foods your brain will start to pick up. Hey, those things are here that I had with the bad food. You will start to crave the good foods. If you're eating a dirty keto diet, that in the long term, hopefully, you've studied the long-term effect of the biological diet. It's bad, so equalize your gut and mind. Equalizing the gut and mind equals habit. Follow these 3 rules. 1. Only organic. 2. Only whole foods. 3. Follow your cravings. After 21 days, following the first 2 rules, your body's going to want the first 2 rules. Crave the good stuff. Fat. Build yourself out of bricks. Optimize. Know your biology. It's never about volume, intensity with exercise, but it's all about nutrition. Eating is the hardest exercise, but a balance between stress and recovery is what will optimize. An already stressed person doesn't need to go to the gym and stress themselves out even more, but get the good stuff, autophagy going, then go to the gym and get to work out. Because you get to, not have to. Our ancestors were fit because they walked and had low-level physical activity throughout the whole day. If we all, every hour we sit, do 100 jumping jacks, or every time we enter a room, do 30 pull-ups, maybe not that many, but instead of having a 30-minute HIIT session, split it up into 3 times throughout the day, we'd be fit. It's something you do, it's not something you have once in a while. You are what you ate, and it can take 10 to 15 years to get out too much lead that's deep in your bones that you got from utero in the birth canal. Another way to optimize. Health being a lifestyle, not a destination, and it should always improve your life, not consume it. If you're eating healthier than your family, you ought to be courageous. Most always, it's cellular inflammation that is stunting weight loss. With cellular inflammation, your DNA turns on bad genes. We all have them. That causes diabetes, autoimmune disorders like Crohn's and colitis. Another way to optimize is getting to the cause. Cellular inflammation. If you're not losing weight, there's some type of inflammation. This means you should heal your emotional, physical, and nerve health through mobility work, meditation, and getting structural chiropractic work done, because your nerves are related to your cells. Mobility instead of stretching. Much better. Overall, the key to weight loss is optimizing your hormones, because when you're forced to do this, you start being stronger mentally, therefore physically, therefore emotionally. Metabolic flexibility and mitochondria fitness is what this vid is all about. You need to pull out the only thing that is preventing you from what you deeply desire, which is energy. You can do all things with this. Each one, teach one. Intention without action is impactless. Learning is applying. Instinct without action is impactless. Check the vids below.